Hello gamers, Mugglug here, and today we tried out the new Healing Quickness Catalyst. For those that don't know, in the October patch for Guild Wars 2, they made some changes to it. Some of you may remember a video I did a few months ago, something like that, where I tried every single healer in the game, and we didn't even really try Kata because it was almost like a meme at that point. It was like a million APM to do, less results than some of the other classes. And one of the big things was the Jade Spheres. Just to say this in a way that people who don't know Kata can understand, Catalysts have these little Jade Spheres with this tiny little energy bar right here. And essentially they deploy a sphere, and then it does some good stuff like boons and things like that. However, you have to cast skills and hit things in order for that bar to fill back up. So you can see I'm auto-attacking this guy and the bar is filling back up. However, you could not refill the bar while the sphere was active in the past. So that would promote gameplay where you summon your spheres and then just like auto, wait for the spheres to wear off and then machine gun all your abilities and then get the spheres back out again really fast. And then just auto, and then when the spheres wear off, you roll your head on the keyboard, and then and so on and so on and so on. And one of the biggest changes they did, they messed with quite a few things here, but this right here, Sphere Specialist, the second sentence is you can now gain energy while spheres are active, which means you can just play normally. You could just play normally, which is very, very good. Like, I'm not even an Ellie main. I'm not an Ellie fanboy, but this feels so much better than it did before. Like, this actually is now something that I would recommend. So really quick, I have Alacrity right now from the testing console. So the Alacrity is from that. Everything else you're about to see is from me. This is a moderate damaging field, which is more damage than many of the fights in the game. So I'm just going to run in here. We're going to use Healing Rain just for regen and do this. And then we're going to swap to air and use this just to get swiftness. And then fire will help us get like might stacks and stuff up. We're gonna go into earth for a minute just to get protection up, and back to water, which tops off the health again. And we're just gonna go through this, and I'm essentially just going to each element. I'm deploying the sphere and doing a couple of other moves and then moving on. And you can see on my boon list down here, I have got pretty much every boon in the game. We've got protection, fury, swiftness, resolution, which is not terribly common, quickness, vigor, regeneration, 25 might, and again, the alacrity is from the console. So, what was it like playing this? What was it like playing this? High APM, but not too bad. So, essentially, as I mentioned, every time you swap through an element, you'll be like, for example, you go to water, and you like deploy the sphere. Healing Rain helps keep regeneration up, so you're going to use Healing Rain often. The 4 is a Frost Field, the 2 is a Blast, so you can use that as a combo finisher. 3 is a lot of healing in an area, plus it helps with revive if you take the revive trait. So you could use those. You're going to go into air, and you want to use Windboard Speed, which gives your group swiftness. That's where the swiftness comes from. And you can fire the 2 if you want. The 3 and the 5 are CC. You go into fire, and you just do this, and that's more boons. And the 2 and the 3, I usually throw. The 5 has an incredibly long cast time, as you could see here. I pretty much never use the 5 while healing. The 4 launches you backwards. Well, it usually does. I don't know why it didn't there. If your 4 fails to launch you backwards, please see a doctor. This is common in Ages of Men over 4. Okay, so there. That's what it's supposed to do. So I would occasionally use this for movement. Like if we were in Temple of Phoebe today, and there was a moment where we just needed to move from point A to point B, and I just turned my cameras back to the location and did that. So it's a movement skill. Earth, when you go into Earth and then throw the sphere, 1, it's the source of your protection, but 2, it's Aegis. So sometimes you might want to delay your next Earth in order to give your group Aegis at a needed moment. And that part, I don't love how that feels. It's absolutely viable. You get a lot of protection from 1 sphere, which allows you to postpone going into Earth for a while. You have a cushion. However, I don't really like that, the hit this button to keep the boon up and hit this button when needed for emergencies are on the same key. That's probably one of my biggest complaints. Also, with staff, your 3 skill, if you double tap it, you give your group stability. Some issues I had with that is if I wasn't in Earth and I needed to give the group stability, I had to go to Earth, use 3 again. So it was 3 animations and key presses to get the group stability out onto the party, at least in the way that I knew how to do it. So there was moments where I got it out when it needed to be out, and there was moments where I was like, go Earth, hit 3, and then we got hit. That happened, I believe, on Whisper of Jormag. I was trying to transmute Earth, and I just couldn't do the 3rd key press fast enough, and we got thrown. minor inconvenience, but it was absolutely an inconvenience. Let's see, what else do we got? Utility skills. Let's see, we got Arcane Brilliance to, heal. Signet of Water helps a little bit. And you can also, I don't think I actually used this a single time today. It's targeted healing in an area, so good in a clinch. Arcane Wave. This is very much a flex slot. There's lots of options here. Snow Crows mentions using Conjure Frostbow or Conjured Lightning Hammer so that you can use those for CC skills if you wish. The Frostbow also has healing on its auto attack. I was using Arcane Wave for another source of CC. It does CC and holds 2 charges, so like I can use one of the charges, and then in 2 seconds I could use the other one. So there's 2 CC skills there. The Earth has a CC, and the Air has 2 CCs. So decent CC in this kit, and we got the Renewal of Water, which is the Revive glyph. Now this glyph, for those who don't play Ellie, it does a different thing based on what element you're in. Fire revives the target and can revive you if you die a few seconds later. Earth revives a pile of people. Water revives them with full health, and air revives them and teleports them to you. No matter what, it's going to revive them. So if you're panicking and you just need to get them up, just hit it. But it will act a little differently depending on the element you're in. And then the final skill is Glyph of Elements. Which I did absolutely terrible with today. It summons an element based on what you're in, and then you get a new skill that you can click and make the element do something. And that has a cooldown. However, the element's only alive for 60 seconds, then it cools down for 40 seconds, then you can resummon it. So frequently in fights, I would forget to resummon it, or I wouldn't have it out at the right moments, or I would forget to use its activatable thing. It's a pet with a limited uptime that you cannot control and has a skill with a cooldown. So if I were to play more of this class, I would absolutely get more practice with that, but for my one day playing it, I very much was not utilizing the summon properly. I was failing to use that as a mechanic quite frequently. As far as the build, this was the build that I used. I was using the one from Snow Crows. At the time of recording this, Snow Crows was the only website I found from the frequent websites that had the up-to-date heal catalyst. That may have changed by the time this video goes out, but I didn't, when I went to Hardstuck and Gilgen and Snow Crows, which are the, usually, in my mind, the big 3, only Snow Crows had the heal cata updated at the time of this recording. The Snow Crows said to use Rune of the Monk, use Harrier's Gear for nearly everything with a couple pieces of Givers, and Relic of Caracosa. Just 1 staff with Transference and Paralyzation. There's no weapon swapping on Ellie when you are in combat, so you don't need a second weapon. In fact, I don't even like having a second weapon equipped, because if I accidentally, it's rare that I do this, but if I accidentally hit weapon swap and then enter combat, I'm locked into that, and I can't swap out of it. So I just don't even have a second one equipped. Now, I did 1 fight with Harrier's Gear, and I felt kind of fragile, because Harrier's is like the glass cannon of healers. If Berserker is to power, what Harrier's is to healing. So I swapped I was not doing a lot of DPS. I was doing like maybe 3 to 4k. Maybe I was playing it poorly, but I was doing like 3 to 4k DPS. So I was like, all right, my damage is crap, and the group needs me as the healer to stay alive. So while I'm learning this, I'm gonna swap to tanky stuff. So I swapped to Giver's Gear. Now, Giver's Gear has the same healing power and concentration as Harrier's, but instead of power, it has toughness. And then I had no problems at all with survivability after that, and it was really easy to not have to worry about myself, and I could focus on saving others. So that's what I did while learning this. If you were more practiced at this than I was after a mere couple of hours, you'd probably eventually go to Harrier's to squeeze out a little bit more damage from it, but that's what I did, and that is why I did it. It felt good. It was very high APM. Like I said, when you're running in there is, you're like, you do this, you do this, you do this, you drop these, you go air, this is swiftness, just throw a random thing to charge sphere, go earth, do this, throw this, go fire, do this, that gives fury, that gives might, hit a couple of skills, go back to water, drop this, drop a couple skills, go back to air, use the sphere, drop a couple skills, you can go to earth, or you could save it if you choose to, go back to fire. Basically, there is no moment you don't have something to hit. And if you like mashing the keys, like if you want to be basically a berserker, but with elementals, like you're gonna love this. If you have carpal tunnel, I would not recommend this. This is kind of fun. It's very flashy. It's very high APM, or maybe not very high, but it is high APM. You are constantly pressing a key, like at all times. You are pressing a key. So if that doesn't sound fun to you, well, you've been warned. But I would say like half the skills feel like they have weight to them and they matter, and half the skills it feels like I'm just firing this just to refill the Ellie Jelly. Like we need the Ellie Jelly bar back up so we can fire another sphere. On that note, on some of the fights, there was moments where I could not hit something and charge the spheres. So like, you know, let's say we hit the boss and the boss goes invulnerable and starts to phase, and we have to just like wait a few moments. During those moments, I could like, you know, basically provide my boons one more time, and then I was out of Ellie juice, and I had to wait for the boss to become targetable to then hit it again. However, there's enough of a buffer with the boons for this class that wasn't really a problem. Although I was just like, all right, here's one more application of boons. Now I gotta wait until I can hit the boss again. It wasn't like so tight that I had the boons fall off, so it wasn't really an issue. One thing I was a little concerned with this was cleansing. For example, Healing Rain does cleansing for 6 seconds, but it has a 28-second cooldown. There's also a couple of other traits and skills in here that do cleansing, but I did not have access to cleansing at all time, which is fine. For most fights in the game, that's fine. If I was doing something like Slothosaur with this build, I feel like I might be sweaty a little bit, because like it's definitely less cleansing than like, you know, Scourge or Druid, which are two of the other healers that I really enjoy. So that is something else that has crossed my mind. Again, though, I only played it for a few hours, so it is possible that there is more ways of doing it. Your dodge cleanses? Yes, but I believe that has a 10-second cooldown? Yes, dodge removes a condition from nearby allies with a 10-turn cooldown if you are in water only. That's, yeah, that's the one. So yeah, that is another one of the ones you have. Again, that's just less than what some of the other classes can provide, but it is still absolutely more than adequate for 90% of the fights in the game. It's just some of the fights that have a lot of enemy conditions, I would be a little nervous going into it, just knowing what I know, but I haven't tried it on those. It might be completely fine. But yeah, I think that's it. That was my experience with it. It's definitely changed for the better. Not a class I'm going to main, but it absolutely has the tools required. It can do stability and Aegis, although you need to plan it a little bit, because stability, if you're not an Earth, takes 3 clicks, and Aegis, you know, if you've given protection recently, you can't give Aegis, so you need to just know the fight enough that you can plan like 10 seconds ahead for those like things like Aegis or Stab. Aside from that, you know, you've got a revive skill if you need to bring it. The Geyser can help revive as well. The staff feels like a fun weapon to me, although, you know, I think the staff's not required. You might be able to heal with spear or other weapons, but I tested with staff. Boon application is very easy. It was extremely easy to keep up literally like every boon in the game except for Alacrity. So that feels good. It is much improved from how it used to be. And if someone were to tell me like, hey, I want to heal people and this is the kind of thing I like to do, and they describe this, I'd absolutely recommend it to them after this last patch. It's much better now. And that's it. And that's my thoughts on the new Heal Kata, and that's what I felt after trying it out for a day. And if any of you have any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, put them in the comment section down below, and I will fight you there.